Olton Hall Dressage is pleased to present the Dressage Formula. I'm Daphne Haagmans, and I'm going to be guiding you through this online learning series. Welcome! We are so glad you are here. I'm an FEI trainer-rider bringing you over 40 years of training and show ring experience. Our horses and riders are treated with compassion and respect. Why did we make the Dressage Formula? We know greater riding success is possible for all riders when they embrace and truly understand the essential building blocks. And that starts with the correct seat, leg, and weight aids. Follow the course and you're going to see the results. Concepts are explained and demonstrated in a variety of modes and perspectives of learning. We want everyone to achieve their aha moments. No tricks or gimmicks here, only quality instruction based on knowledge and experience and the classical dressage system. We foster a positive learning environment and a sense of belonging for all levels of riders, while providing first-rate instruction based on classical principles and a lifetime of experience and qualifications. We are here for you. Join us online. You belong here. So here we are, the beginning of the course. We thought we would take a moment to introduce ourselves and review some of our key philosophies surrounding the course. We will also talk about safety, which is always important when working with horses, and give you some tips about how to best utilize this course for optimum results. We will start with a review of the table of contents, our core philosophies, and some online community details and more information about me, your course leader. The name says it all. This is the comprehensive study of the dressage seat, leg, and weight aids. We cover a lot of information, much of which is intermeshed in various sections of the course. But don't worry, we will review everything in multiple manners and instances throughout the course. Here is our table of contents. It corresponds to the course curriculum on our website, but it can be very useful to view it at a glance as presented here. We have provided a PDF version of this page for those who would like to print it off to keep with their other checklists and assessments provided throughout the course. Yeah, some of the key philosophies we've brought to this course. It's really the simplifying of the system that we're trying to emphasize, taking the mystery out of it all, and the breaking down of the riding concepts into smaller and smaller elements until they're really an understandable unit by the horse or the rider. So if it's not understood, we try and break it down even further and then build it back up again together. I've used my university education background, which at the time seemed totally unrelated to riding and has evolved into really being a big part of it. I studied linguistics and psychology and mathematics in my second degree, and that really is all about systems and learning and a language, and maybe that's partly where our dressage formula came from, of building up these basics into a meaningful but in a simple way, breaking it down. We use the concept of repetition here in our course quite a bit. I think this is a way I found through my teaching that repeating things again, teaching similar concepts maybe in a different way. For horses, repetition is very important in their learning. So in the course we use various modes of learning. We have videos, photos, explanations, schematics, patterns to do, exercises to try that are all related maybe to one concept, but it's just a different way of showing something and learning something and breaking it down. And hopefully one of them resonates with you and one of them sticks and can really help you to achieve these skills. We make use of various modes and perspectives of learning. Everyone learns differently. This is why we explain concepts from a variety of perspectives. Our videos, photos, and schematics will ensure you grasp the key concepts. Our printable checklists, exercises, and assessments will keep you on track when you step away from the computer and head out to the barn to practice these lessons. We are with you to ensure results.
Whichever way you learn best, we have you covered.
So, yeah, why did we start with this course? When we decided to do an online learning series, we had lots of ideas, some smaller courses that maybe seemed like a easier or better place to start because it was a smaller course. But we kept coming back to that it's really about these basic concepts that need to be addressed. So I found that when I thought about when I'm teaching a clinic or teaching lessons, I'm really going over and over this same lesson again and again. So it was great to be able to take it and put it all in one place. And it is a basic concept, but it's about how we sit on a horse and how we effectively communicate with that horse. It's about simplifying this mystery about riding, which really isn't a mystery at all when we can break it down into smaller component parts and really learn about it. The course got bigger and bigger as we started to put it together, and we thought maybe we'd break it up, but it really, all these concepts do belong together in one place, and you start to see how they're intermingled and related to each other, which I think makes it less of a mystery. There's a saying that great riders really concentrate on the basics and keep returning to the basics. So here they are.
This production actually all came out of COVID times. What started as a casual idea of running some Zoom type lessons for my core group of students during COVID lockdown turned into the Dressage Formula, and this course grew bigger and bigger out of that. I have dedicated my entire life to training horses and riders. Here's a brief snapshot of my credentials.
Oh, so how did I get into horses? I don't come from a horsey family. When I was 7 years old, my family moved to a farm. My sister and I, and my parents, and my father thought, well, I guess we need some animals. So not only did he come home with a horse one day, we had goats and chickens and geese and all kinds of animals. And so we often blame him that he started it all. And he came home with Lady Luck, a pinto that was our first horse. Then they decided we needed another one, so they bought a Shetland pony because how bad could that be, a little pony? And that turned out to be a holy terror who really taught us how to ride. And my parents didn't know anything about horses, so they didn't know how bad it could be, but we sure learned a lot from that pony. Did I come from a horsey family? I would say originally, absolutely not. Nobody was involved with horses, but because we moved to a farm and accumulated horses and ponies, my parents became very involved. My sister was in pony club with me, so she did quite a bit of riding in her younger days and went on to do some modern pentathlon later, and all through pony club. And my parents became involved. My mother ended up being our driver, trailering us to the horse shows. She coached our Prince Philip game team. She made all of our riding clothes. My father became involved with everything behind the scenes. He was building the jumps, going to the horse shows, going to the feed mill every weekend, building stalls for the accumulation of horses and ponies that we had. So I think we ended up being somewhat a horsey family, although my parents never really knew anything about horses or training horses, and my mother was deathly afraid of them the entire time that we had them. My early influences on my current day philosophies and training. I think Pony Club had a lot to do that. I was heavily involved in Pony Club. We rode at home, so we didn't have a central riding school that we went to. I did take some lessons in my younger years at a local riding school, but our Pony Club was a huge influence, and I did everything Pony Club. I did my testing and levels up to the B2 standard. I did all the rallies and the quizzes, And the show jumping, the inventing, I did that actually all before I turned over to the dressage part of it. The dressage was the last part. So Pony Club instilled in me the horsemanship in the training. It was so much about everything other than riding, and riding being a component of it, but all the essentials of the horsemanship and caring for the horse. And I think that's really been instilled into me from the very beginning. Kevin brings a very diverse knowledge base to the whole training system that we have here. Yeah, he's often asked people, what do you think the hardest part about training horses is? And it's not about the piaffe or the passage or the hardest thing you're trying to teach your horses. The hardest thing about training horses is keeping them healthy and sound so that they can and want to do the work for you. He's had a vast experience with just literally thousands of horses. He's been a thoroughbred trainer at the racetrack. He's worked in a veterinary clinic, doing the recoveries after surgery and seeing all kinds of surgeries and care for horses, and just continues to expand his knowledge on horses. He's so capable of handling any kind of horse and really getting horses to work with us and for the program and keeping horses healthy and sound. Yes, my horses have definitely taught me more than I've been able to teach them. I really enjoy training horses. That's the fabulous part of it. Competing is great. I love competing. If I had to give up one or the other, I'd give up competing, but not give up the training part. It's such a rewarding process. I've had some pretty interesting horses to train. They've come into my life, and you work with what you've got. I didn't come through a program of lessons or being at a dressage barn or being in a full training program or riding a trained horse to start with. I rode at home. I initially had a few riding lessons at the local riding school. I was fortunate enough to go to clinics, and I just tried to absorb everything I could from my lessons at clinics and watched other people ride. There's just a great advantage in just watching people ride. I read all the books I could get my hands on. I'm pretty much self-taught, other than what I learned from clinics and so on. But I was very fortunate as a junior rider to have fabulous clinicians. At that time, Canada was bringing over Reiner Klimke, George Tedesco. So that's probably where my classical roots were instilled at that time. I've worked with a lot of horses with issues. I never had the fancy big horses that came in, bought for clients, some super nicely trained horses, but often would pick up a horse that had issues. I had a first horse I took to Grand Prix was a thoroughbred that was very difficult in the beginning. No one thought he'd make what was called training level or basic at the time. Picked up horse that had absolutely no flying changes, that went all over Europe and couldn't get the changes, and then brought him along, took on a horse that came to us lame with terrible splints that the vet begged us to not take the horse, and fixed up that horse and rode on. So training is really about training the horse, working with what you've got, applying all your horsemanship to it, and learning as you go along.
We want to thank the horses that have appeared both in our course content and social media feeds. We are fortunate to have been able to work with a wide variety of breeds, levels, and disciplines to demonstrate that dressage really is for all. We owe it to the horses to learn how to communicate with them harmoniously using their language. Not only does this make their lives and training happier, but we potentially can achieve outstanding results far beyond our expectations. Every horse deserves this compassion, and you will be rewarded with a willing participant who is eager to give you his very best version of dressage. Partnering with me on this project is lifelong friend and student Amy Beitzek. Amy is the hardworking and all-important person behind the computer keyboard and camera lens bringing these lessons to life. If you have any technical questions or issues running the course, please don't hesitate to reach out to her for any assistance that will help you to fully enjoy the course.
We aren't teaching anything new here. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel on training horses. We're trying to add a fresh approach of simplifying learning these concepts. Riding is an ancient art. Modern riding is based on classical principles. Xenophon wrote about riding and training horses back as far as 400 BC. So we're bringing forward those classical principles and trying to break them down into simpler units that people can learn from. This old information just explained in a new way. We're trying to make it simple and have riders become successful at improving their riding and really mastering these basic principles and skills.
Again, we want to emphasize that we foster a positive learning environment. We share on social media pictures, useful tips, fun facts, all other information. So follow us where you can.